I'm out here at the Stoller Family Estates. I'm with Jason. He's the Vice President of Vineyard Operations. And Jason, we're all looking, the spring has been kind of a tough, wet, cold, gray, and a lot of our crops are starting to show, they're behind.
Yeah.
And there's some things that we can kind of do, we're standing out in the field with the grapes to kind of, catch up a little bit or try to make sure we preserve as much time as we have.
Right now we're trying to harvest or getting ready to harvest as much heat and light that we can harvest this year. You said it was late. We're standing mid-mountain at Stoller Family Estate in our reserve Chardonnay block. You can see our experience center in the background by our grain silo. This was an area that was sort of preserved through the big frost event we had in April.
Right.
And so we have normal growth up here, and our goals up here are to make sure that we have the right amount of shoots per linear foot of vine row, that we're preparing this fruit for its bloom phase. So right now, shoot density is the main thing we're working on, and wire lifting to make sure these shoots are growing in an upright position.
So for the home gardener that's growing grapes at home, let's take these for an example. What do we need to be looking at as far as making sure we're getting enough light and can get our full crop?
Okay, so at this point, it is a late season here in Oregon, so it's likely that you may have too many shoots that have come out, or perhaps you got frosted earlier this season and you have a whole mess of shoots coming out. And what we do here is make sure that we have no more than 2 shoots coming out of every spur prune position. You may have a similar looking spur prune arm cordon, they call this training system, but you may have this up on a fence or a high wire. It's important that you get that shoot density down in preparation to let as much heat and light in. I'm pulling leaves right now. It's probably not the time to be doing that since we're going to have some heat coming and we haven't gone through bloom yet, but I wanted to get in here and show you what we've done. We've gone from, let's say, 3 or 4 shoots came out of here. We've taken it back to 2. Or if only 2 come out, take it back to 1. Make sure you do all your suckering and get all these little unfruitful shoots out from around the head zone and really open this up, letting more heat and more light in on an already late season. It's important that you know that you're also growing next year's crop right now. And what triggers that is heat and light in these shoots that you'll either put down on the wire next year or cut down into these buds. That's where next year's fruit will come from.
Because it takes a lot of energy for this plant to continue the growth on all these shoots that you don't really need. So by removing those, then we're putting as much energy we can into what's remaining.
Right, the source and sink. The source is collected in the vine and in these leaves, and it's heading towards the fruit, which is the sink. And you want to make sure that you have the right amount of source material balancing out with the right amount of sink material, and too much can be tough in a year like this to get things ripe. This is the year to not be greedy with leaving a lot of fruit on the vine.
Right. So it's a good time to get our vines prepped and ready. The vines they're looking great. They're behind. But, not only do the vines look great, but your gardens are stunning. So we're going to take it down with Judy down and talk about the gardens down below. So
great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Now I am with Corinne, and so Corinne, you are the head of the gardens here, of the corporate gardens. Well, really a gardener, and you really have done this stunning job. Just if we're looking at this beautiful wall of plants here, but you do more than that. So kind of explain about your whole philosophy about bringing other plants to this monoculture.
Well, I got this concept from an art installation that started in Seattle in 2008 called the Pollinator Pathway. It was an urban idea to bring flowering plants, trees and shrubs to areas that did not have anything but lawns. And it swept across the country and landed here in Oregon, Washington, after going to the East Coast and coming back. And what it does is it keeps and feeds the bees, the birds, and all the wildlife that feeds off of that biome on the land.
And I could see that's so important. Like you said, there are acres and acres of grape plants here.
Yeah.
And so that's only one plant, really, as a whole. So you've brought in all this diversity that really is so pleasing to us, but really it does so much more to that, to all the wildlife.
Yeah, that's the point, is to have this natural contextual beauty that flows from late winter, spring, summer, fall, and feeds all the insects that live here, and also allows all the birds. We see swallows swooping around and hummingbirds, and they're feeding off them as well.
And even to the iconic tire swing on the
Yes.
oak tree, and it's not mowed, but that is deliberate.
That is deliberate. So with the temperatures raising up year to year, two things are happening there. Grass cools the ground. It also allows for the mycorrhizal shield, which is the fungi that lives under the soil, to stay alive. The worms gather underneath there, crickets, every kind of element to help sustain that tree, because out in a field in the middle of grass, when it's mowed, it's considerably hotter, and especially with the heat domes, than if it's surrounded by a sea of cooling grasses. We also brought bulbs back in, so we have camas planted there, which is an indigenous bulb. We have all different kinds of alliums and tulips and daffodils. So in the spring, it's a real flash of color that's just delightful.
And it's just what we all want to do in our garden. So you're teaching us too. So thank you very much. And you know, if you talk to the servers here, you can get the handout about that. There's actually like a pathway that everybody can take. So get your glass of wine and walk around and enjoy all of the fruits of your labor and all the beauty. And we just thank you so much about that. And to talk about wine, Ryan is going to be talking with Melissa. So I'm going to hand this off to Ryan then. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Now I'm back down here at the Experience Center. I'm with Melissa. Melissa, you're the Vice President of Winemaking, which is a very important job out here at Stoller. And you know, now the weather is getting nicer finally, and we're able to get outside. What is your picks for wine for us to be drinking this time of year?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because I happen to have one of my top picks right here. This is our Pinot Noir Rosé. So this is all Pinot Noir that we grow specifically for making rosé, which is a white wine from red grapes in my mind. So this is what I love to celebrate the season with. It's actually fantastic all year round. But it's a wine that we make a substantial amount of. It's a really important part of our Stoller portfolio.
Right. And you know, rosés have been, you know, a lot of popularity in the last several years, but you guys have been doing it longer than that.
We have. We've been making rosé since 2005, and at that time we made just a very little bit of rosé for the tasting room, but it's been very fortunate because we had a lot of vintages to really fine-tune the process, and I think then we've settled on a rosé in a style that really works for our vineyard and the brand and our area. So.
Right, you know, and it's, you know, rosé all day in my book, but
yeah,
you know, I love a rosé because I love the cleanliness of it, and it's, you know, just a great wine for sitting around on a day like this.
Definitely, yeah. It's aromatic, it's bright, it's crisp, it's food friendly. Our rosé is very clean. It doesn't have any tannin to it, so it's refreshing. And yeah, rosé all day. We did it for a long time, and hopefully it's here to stay.
And it's one of just many wines that you have out here at Stoller. You know, so you know, if you're looking for just that perfect wine, you want, you know, an amazing atmosphere to come out into the gardens. You know, we've appreciated coming out here all of these years and, you know, visiting with you and seeing the growth and seeing it there. So make sure you come out and experience this all for yourself. It's, you know, quite a special place to be out here at Stoller.
But I thank you for doing what you've been doing for so long and our relationship over the years, and just cheers to all the success going forward.
Thank you.
Cheers.